So I'm starting a series on fur handling on Nutria. There's a lot of really good fur handling things out on other critters, but there really wasn't much information on these when I first started trapping. So this is not a professional demo by any means, but this is just how I do them. So anyway, I got Nutria here. It's pretty similar to a lot of other critters. I'm just going to start by ringing its back feet all the way around on both sides. Tail, you take right to where the fur kind of stops. It's kind of similar to a possum or a muskrat, and just try to get a straight line. On the front feet, I try to take the front feet off of everything that I catch. My theory is that there's always a chance that one of those claws could poke a hole in your pelt when you pull the front legs out. So, figure it doesn't take much more time. And there's one less chance of something going wrong and poking a hole. These guys aren't worth a ton of money anyway, so put a hole in them if they already don't have bite marks, which most of them do. You know, you don't need to be making them worth any less money. But once you got the feet off, you come in alongside the tail with the sharp knife and just go right up to the heel, both sides. And then you start working both legs down. Their skin's actually fairly tough. You could probably get away with pulling them if you had a machine or if you just want to do it by hand. The biggest problem with them is their stomach's real soft, so you'll end up with all their guts hanging out, which isn't the end of the world. It just isn't very pleasant. Anyway, come around to the other side. You're going to do the same thing. You're just freeing up this back leg from the foot. And once you get past the hip, they go pretty fast. Right around the rear, they're kind of glued on here a little bit, but tuck her tail through. And I try to on the side as I come in and try to get as much of the actually flesh tissue when I'm skinning it. The tail's really kind of a pain to flesh once you get down there, so you can leave it on the critter. Just one less thing to do on your fleshing beam. Okay, so now that we got this guy pulled down a little bit, flip around the front, get the front of the legs, and poke her tail back through. So, I've seen people where they'll skin these all the way up here. There's really no need to, because all of this part gets cut off in the boarding process. So what I do is I'll run my fingers in behind its front vent there, and run my knife through, come right up the front of the legs. And that gives you a fairly flat line, which will help you in your boarding process, and it keeps you from having to skin all there between its front legs. So once again, on the front of this, you really don't want to pull. This area here will pull out, and you'll end up with intestines hanging out. You can be a little bit more aggressive on the back. No need to worry about the guts coming through there, but if you get down past this, I guess the muscles that hook the legs into the rib cage there, that's your fear of guts coming out is lower. And on your bellies, you can pretty much almost skin them right, like clean skin them, so you don't end up having to flesh them. You can see there's literally nothing left there. And once you get that down, you can get more aggressive on the back and drop them right to their shoulders. And I leave them low like this so you got a little better leverage as you're pulling down on them. And then I'll move them up. Okay. Back around to the front. Still not going too crazy on the pulling part. This is also a little bit thinner skin, and you can tear it if you pull real hard. As these front legs come out, this is something I struggled with a lot when I first started skinning anything, is knowing that there's a muscle that you can cut there. I used to skin that all the way out, and it'd take me absolutely forever to get the critter's front legs out. And it's not necessary. Okay, once you get in here, another thing is you can use your hand. You go right down I guess it'd be the brisket or almost to their chin there, and loosen that all up. And what that allows you to do is then come back in and run your finger under through the armpit. And you know, for this, I'm not really flying through these. You can actually knock these out pretty quick if you've done a few of them. And then with these bigger ones, they have a whole lot of slime around their legs. If you can, just cut that off. Leave it on the carcass instead of on your hide. It's one of the hardest parts to flesh on these. They're not real hard to flesh, but that little step right there will save you a couple minutes. Okay, once we get down to here, work your thumb, and I work downhill, and then I come back in and push up, which will pull the rest of the muscle off the arm before I pull it out, and then this front foot just slides right out. Do the same thing on the other side. When you push through on this, you have to be careful that the top of the shoulder blade has a bone in it, and if you push real hard, you'll jam a hole right through your hand, which does not feel very good. Okay, so front arms are out, and we're going to just now work down to the ears. The head on these is fairly standard, if anything else, as far as fur bearers, but except their mouth. Their mouth is a bigger mess. They've got fur that goes inside their mouth, which means that their jaw doesn't expose when you come down here. So as you can see, like on a normal critter, when you get their jaw worked all the way down to here, you start seeing their teeth and stuff. On these ones you don't, because the fur goes right on in their mouth. But as you get down to the ears, you cut down and then away, and you get this little earbud there, so you can have a big hole both sides. You know, and on their heads, it really doesn't matter that much. Their eyes and ears will pretty much dry closed. So if you make one a little bit big, don't freak out. You don't have to do a whole lot of repairs on that. It's really not going to make that big a difference. So on their face, if you just kind of keep working it down and putting some pressure on there, it does peel. But like I said, you get down to here and that mouth does not want to expose. You get to their eyes. I actually pull the hide out a little bit on these. And then I do the same thing. I come in and then back down to get the eyelid. But if you don't get it, not a big deal. Like I said, they'll dry almost closed anyway. Okay, so now once you get past the eyes, it's just working down the nose, around the mouth. So you get down here far enough, you make a U-shaped cut inside their mouth, going right down to towards their chin. And then if you come in along their teeth, you're going to end up cutting their gums off. Which there's a bunch of them in there. And if you stretch their mouth out, you can cut right down inside both of their front teeth there, both sides. Get the rest of the gums that are inside their mouth. And from there, it's pretty smooth sailing. It's just your standard working down your nose. And that's pretty much it. Get this guy on the fleshing beam. That'll be the next part 2. And if you look in the description, there'll be a link. And we'll move on to that. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.